Hello, everybody. So I wanted to start this panel a bit early because we had some people were added at the end, and we want to give them some time so they can explain what's going on. So this is the Peru panel, and the moderator is going to be Miguel Paredes, which is an MIT alumni. He was a PhD student at the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab here at MIT. And now he's doing great things at RIMAC in Peru, which is one of our sponsors. He's the Vice President of Artificial Intelligence, and he has been supporting our initiatives since the beginning. Since the first time I talked to him, he showed his support, so I'm very grateful for him. And he's going to be moderating this panel. So please join me in welcoming Miguel.
Gracias. Thank you. So you guys can hear me, right? Okay. Well, thank you for being here. It's the last day of the conference, afternoon, after lunch, always a bad time, but thanks for sticking it here. I want to introduce the other panel members. We'll be discussing Peru and AI efforts and what's going on there. And I'm very proud of the panel we have here. People from academia, people from private sector, people from academia in Peru and the States, philanthropic initiative. So I'll ask Cesar Beltran to come and join us. Cesar is a PhD professor in Catholic University of Lima. He runs the AI group or lab in La Católica. And I'd say it's probably the most important place doing AI in Peru. And Cesar will tell us a little about the history of AI in Peru, how long it's been happening, what's going on right now. And it's great to have you here, Cesar, with us. And next, I'll ask Andrea to come and join us. Andrea is assistant professor, and she has been working around education in AI in the States. She's a Peruvian who studied in Peru, actually in La Católica, where Cesar is a teacher, a professor. And she came to the States in North Carolina State University, and she's been helping out with the Center for Advanced Analytics there in education and research, and she's a PhD. She just graduated and is one of the Peruvians working around this space. There's not that many Peruvians in this space, increasing little by little. Then I'll invite Leda Basombrio. Leda is the senior AI and data science lead at within Peru's largest bank, BCP. And she runs a group of data scientists there. And Leda's background is very interesting because she's an economist, and she then did a master's in statistics, and then she did a master's in data science at NYU, correct? And so her approach to AI and data science and machine learning, I think, is very informed from different disciplines. And I'll ask her some questions around that. Then I'll invite Luz Fernandez. Luz is a master's in innovation, and she's working in Peru. She is not Peruvian, but her heart is Peruvian because she's helping Peru advance AI. She leads a philanthropic initiative of one of Peru's richest families, which owns one of Peru's largest economic conglomerates. And the family of this group decided to invest in education. The big question they had is, how do we train Peruvians in AI and data science? How do we give a gift to the Peruvian economy, to the Peruvian people, in giving them the opportunity to train? And so we have this program that has a collaboration with MIT, with IDSS, and we're training Peruvian. I say we because I'm also part of this initiative. Luz leads it. She'll tell you a little more about this. And finally, I want to invite Luiggi. Luiggi is the manager, the head of data science in one of Peru's largest, if not the largest, I think it's the largest consumer goods company. And he's been leading a team there and doing really good stuff. And he'll tell us all about the challenges of pushing for AI and machine learning within the corporate world. So I want to start off. With a question for Cesar. Cesar is probably, I would say, one of the most important academics in Peru around artificial intelligence. Everyone knows him, and everyone looks for him when they're wondering what to do. And as I mentioned, he runs a lab kind of like Cesar here at MIT in La Católica, and they're doing really cool stuff. Actually, I'll let him tell a little about the history and how it started. And I think there's this preconception that's wrong, that AI is just happening in many of our emerging countries, and that's not true. There's been groups doing AI, different parts of AI, for years. And I want Cesar to talk a little about this and maybe discuss what's new in this wave and what's been going on for a while. So Cesar, please go ahead.
Hello, Miguel. I will thanks to the invitation of Omar and his team here at MIT and the organization of this summit. I think that's a good opportunity to interact and to share ideas between our countries. Okay, I will do a fast history about the research in artificial intelligence in Peru. Okay, and I will begin with this paper from some friends, from Marco, Jose Bayoki, and Jose Poussin. In 28 days, they published this paper, Computing and Higher Education in Peru, 11 years ago. Okay, and they established, for example, 5 problems. Okay, there are no doctoral programs emphasizing in computer science. There are no master programs for full-time research, okay, in Peru. For example, the country is not productivity or exporting software in expressive quantities. Another problem is the scientific production, for example, from 2096 to 26. For example, only 34 papers was produced during this time, okay? Another problem was the most degree program focused on the application of computing technology, okay, not in the production of technology. The traditional education is in information systems. For example, all the universities in the country are oriented to the information systems, okay? What is a professional of information system? They use the computer systems and find technological solution for business. Okay, the formation of professionals in computing in Peru are oriented all to the companies, are oriented to the business. But why? This is a traditional idea of the third countries. Okay, it is not only the problem in Peru, but I think that it's a problem in Latin American countries. But for research in computing and artificial intelligence, it's fundamental the background in computer science. Okay? Why? To understand the fundamental of computer theory and apply the mathematical algorithms necessary to create code and develop innovative computer programs to implement them in software, hardware, and operating systems. Okay? After 10 years, after the publish of our friends, the paper of our friends, what changed in Peru in computer science? We have only 2 programs of doctoral programs in computer science, partial time doctoral programs. One in the Universidad Nacional de San Agustín in Arequipa, and the other program is in Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, but this program is a doctorate in engineering, okay? Approximately, there are 15 graduates in Nacional San Agustín. Until the moment, we don't have any graduates in the book, the Pontificia. In master programs oriented to computer science, we have only 3 programs, 2 in Arequipa and 1 in Lima. In Arequipa, we have the University Católica San Pablo, okay, and the Universidad Nacional de San Agustín. In Lima, we have the informatics master program with orientation to computer science, okay? And I think that there is only these 3 programs in Peru. The Peruvian education in computer science, for example, only 1 program was accredited in specific criteria in computer science. And this is the Universidad Nacional de San Agustín. There are only 6 undergraduate programs in computer science: San Agustín, Católica San Pablo, Universidad Nacional de Ingeniería, UPC, UTEC, and the Universidad Nacional de Trujillo. Okay? Only one program is considered in the QS ranking by subject in computer science, and is the Pontificia Católica University, but we don't have the program in computer science. Okay? This is some statistics, okay, that the problem we have in Peru to develop the research in artificial intelligence, and not only in artificial intelligence, but in computer science, okay? And when we moved from Arequipa to Lima, I was invited for the Católica, Pontificia Católica University to work in Lima, because previously I was working in National San Agustin. We created the research group in artificial intelligence, joining with Gisela Bejarano, is here, okay, and one of the founders of the group. And since 2014, we are awarded with funding to develop some projects, research projects, okay? And approximately, till the moment, we have $3 million in funds to develop our projects, okay? Funds from the university, funds from the Peru, and funds, international funds too. In this graph, you can see, for example, our group, the number of members that we are working in the group. Okay, since 2014, we only in 2014 we only were 5 or 6 members. Okay. And each year we are increasing in number of people, because one of the strategies to increase was to invite researchers from Peruvian researchers that was working in other countries. Okay, we invited to work with us, and many of them returned with grants from the Peruvian Concitec institution. And with this work, we increase our number of publications too, okay? Till the moment, we have more than 70 papers in conference and approximately 20 papers in journals. Another important point was our relationships with other laboratories in the world, okay? Many of these relationships was established due to for example, many members of the group are doing his postgraduate programs in Europe, in United States, in Brazil, in several countries. We are working together all the time. The research lines what we develop in the group is bioinformatics, computer vision, natural language processing, and knowledge engineering. Okay, we consider it, for example, our country as a data lab. Is especially adequate to develop research in artificial intelligence. 2 topics especially are important in Peru: the biodiversity. You can see, for example, that each region of the country has a rich biodiversity, okay? And the other point is the history and archaeology, okay? We have, for example, more than 40 native language in the country, okay? We have many sites, archaeological sites, okay? And we have many historical documents in our museums, okay? And all of this, for example, data is not working or is not exploring. Some applications, for example, that we are developing in our lab are oriented specifically to not to solve the problem, but to analyze these kind of problems. For example, in biodiversity, for example, to work with coffee production, to work with the native language. We are trying to do, for example, a translator between Shipibo, Conibo, and Spanish. Spanish and Shipibo, Conibo. But the problem is that we don't have a huge data to train, for example, the neural networks. We have to work with the traditional statistical methods, okay? For example, another problem is archaeology. We are trying to reconstruct, for example, archaeological objects. In this case, we are using, for example, GAN networks to reconstruct these kind of objects, okay? This is the presentation. I think in conclusion that we need more people to work. Our group are increasing in number of members, but for the problems of the country, we are a few people. Okay. Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you, Cesar. There we go. Thank you. So thanks, Cesar, for that presentation. I think it's very interesting to see how the applications of AI to problems or opportunities in biodiversity, for example, the coffee detection of fungus or defects is very, very important. And so we invite you guys, anyone who's interested in joining the group and doing research around Peru and leveraging the data we have, please contact Cesar. I have before I forget, I wanted to thank Omar and the organizing committee. The effort, like how much they worked for this is impressive. And thank you, Omar. Thank you for all you guys are doing and how you guys have helped us come together and work around AI for Latin America. I'm curious, how many Peruvians do we have in the? Can you raise your hand, Peruvians? There's a lot of Peruvians. A lot of, yeah, okay, great.
Vamos, Peru.
Excellent. So I have a question for Luz. So Luz, thinking of what Cesar is doing and what traditional academia is doing, you're running this initiative I mentioned around philanthropic initiative that is not a formal educational program. It's actually leveraging the MicroMasters from MIT in data science and statistics. Can you tell us a little about that and how the institute you're running is complementing and seeks to complement existing academic initiatives?
Yeah, so thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Miguel, for inviting us to the panel, and also thank you, Omar. I think you had the chance to, well, actually, Omar did have the chance to come to Peru and visit our initiative. So I think he posted a picture of it yesterday with the students. So yeah, the initiative I'm leading is, like Miguel said, it is a philanthropic initiative. It is backed up, or we are partnered with the Institute for Data Systems and Society at MIT, because they're very much aligned to the purpose that we have. We are also, this initiative is sponsored by one of the Brescia family members. The Brescias own one of the largest business conglomerates in Peru. And this initiative is born not as part of the business purpose of the group, but as something independent from one of the family members that decides that there is a great chance to dedicate part of her legacy to make the country grow. And joining that with a huge talent gap that there is currently in data science and the huge talent that we know that is in Peru and that can be developed and that can be made visible and that can be given opportunities, we set up what we call today the Institute for Advanced Analytics. We currently have one beta project running. It started last year. We have 25 students in that cohort. We're launching a second cohort shortly. And basically what we do within the program is we detect top talent. We normally find people that are in their early years of career development. They've been working for 3 to 5 years, more or less. So this is not recently graduated students. We find them, we detect them, or they come to us, and they are people with a huge potential. They have huge talent. They shine. Like I always say, they are shining. They're normally working, some of them are in academia. Most of them, some of them are in the largest companies in Peru, some others work for the government. We have a huge mix, which gives us a huge sign of the amount of talent that there is in the country. And they're shining, but they're not shining as much as they should. So what we did is we set up an academic program, a non-official program, like Miguel said. We designed a course which embeds the MicroMasters in Data Science and Statistics that is currently available online through edX. We have additional MIT support, so we have additional teaching support from MIT and guidance, and there is people at IDSS dedicated to supporting us in this program. And we take the students in for an 18-month program. It's a part-time program. We don't take them out of their daily lives. They co-locate for 2 days a week. It is a blended kind of program, so we decided to bet for not only online education, but for a blended and a more human community where people can be connected face to face. And aside from the technical content that they're receiving and that they're learning, which is of huge quality, without having to come here to MIT, we also focus on certain things that we know that are very important today, especially in markets like Peru and probably in other countries, and as we've heard in other forums and in other panels these days. We focus on the difference and the reality of different markets. So the Peruvian market is not the same as the US today. Large companies are not in the same status as smaller companies. Startups is not the same as a company that has already been running for a long time and has to make a change towards data. We focus on exposing the students to those environments, and we focus on having them come in touch or get in touch with real life situations that might make them focus on non-technical skills. We have a huge conscience of how important it is to train people today, not only on technology, but also on dealing with other people. And so we focus on competences that we've developed activities for that are things like ethical mindset, things like critical thinking, things like adaptability, things like being able to mobilize change, maybe not as a leader if you're not in a leading position, but maybe from some other position or using other tools. And we do that along 18 months, just so the students are not only. We do this with two objectives. First one is to generate professionals that will be highly demanded because of the profile that they had. And the second of all is we are aware, and one of the main purpose that we have is to create what we've called society change agents, or maybe even educational change agents. Why? Because we know that the people that are going to be coming out of the program are probably going to be in positions tomorrow in different companies in different sectors that are going to be needing talent, are going to be needing to learn about what's this, about data science, how do I embed this into my normal day-to-day. And if we are able to give them the tools to be able to do this two-way education and educate their employers on the value of having what we call, and I think it was the first day that Marco Muñoz, who was moderating a panel here, said bilingual students. So the importance of mixing technology with people and not only focusing on tools and not only focusing on how to learn machine learning, but also focusing on how to manage time, how to manage expectations, how to embed critical thinking, or how to have an ethical mindset, not as a tool, but as something that is just in my mind always. They will be able to make a change in society and be able to embrace or help society embrace technology in a much smoother way and in a much more positive way, right? So this is more or less the initiative that we're running.
Thanks for sharing that, Luz. It's a really amazing initiative, and it really, I think if we look back 10 years in 10 years, well, I think that's going to be something that's very transformative in Peru's AI landscape. Andrea, so you are one of the few Peruvians outside of Peru working around AI and data science. There's others as well. Gisela. Tell us, is there a gap in education, in research and education in AI from what you observe here in the States versus Peru? And if there is, how would you describe that gap? How big is it? What are the areas?
Okay. Before I get started answering the question, I want to thank Omar and his team for having me here and for organizing, putting together this awesome event. Before I start answering the question, too, I want to give a little bit more of context on what I do. I am part of a master's in analytics program at North Carolina State University. This master's in analytics was created as the first master's in analytics in the nation. We were created in 2008, so we have been around for more than 10 years. This master's degree is a very intensive program. It's only 10 months, and the objective is that all of our students get one or more job offers even before graduation. So we have a very good track record on getting 100% of the students placed before graduation. So to put it simple, the director of our program has a soft spot for students not only coming from Peru, but coming from all Latin America. They adapt well, it's easy to place them, they play very, very, very well in groups, and so on. So the program, the curriculum, it's developed in 4 main areas. The first one would be statistics and math. The second one would be programming and databases. The third one is soft skills. And the fourth one is communication and visualization. So all our curriculum has changed in all these years to be able for the students to get all the skills that they need in these 4 areas. The students that are coming from Peru, and of course I see the ones, like the students that are already admitted to the program. We get around 1,000 applications per year. Out of those 1,000 applications, we interview 300. And once we interview, we admit 100. So I only see the ones that are admitted. But the students that are coming from Peru, they have a great background in math and statistics. So our undergraduate degree in Peru is around 5 years, compared to the students here that have an undergraduate degree that is only 4 years. That means that they have seen more courses. They are very, very well prepared once they come to study with us. In the programming and databases area, they know at least one programming language, and they are able to adapt to another one that we teach them there during the program. Soft skills, this is the area where I am like the most proud of. Students that come from Peru, they are used to work in teams. So I remember when I was in undergrad, I would study in teams like with my friends and classmates because otherwise we wouldn't pass the courses. So we are used to study in teams, like playing groups. And that's one of the areas that students that are from here, like US students, it's more individual work. So they are not used to this setting. And once we start the program, like the master's degree, where we make them work in a practicum team, like a team of 5 students to solve a real problem, that area is more challenging for the US students compared to the Peruvian students. So that's a really good advantage that we have. The fourth area, that's where I see the biggest gap. So that would be the communication and visualization area. And in terms of communication, what I see is that the students coming from Peru, we haven't received formal training in communication skills. We have the barrier that English is not our first language. So taking the results from a model, extracting the insights and presenting that to people that might not be familiar with what analytics is already challenging for a person whose first language is English. Put the barrier of the language there, and it gets a little bit more complicated. So that part, and then like communication and visualization, having presented to large audiences is something that I don't see students coming from Peru being used to compared to the ones that are from the US. So that's one of the areas where I see the biggest gap in education in Peru when compared to the US.
Thank you, Andrea. I have a question sorry, give me my notes. Okay, Cesar, what's your impression? You have students and peers and friends who are in the States and Europe. What's your take on gaps in terms of research, in terms of education and around AI in Peru versus these other places?
I think that, for example, the student from my university has a good background in science, because in the 2 first years, we have the general studies, where the students has, for example, courses in physics, mathematics, statistics, programming. Okay, when they go to another universities, they don't have problems. I think that the fundamental they have. Okay, but probably is the change of the country that I think that any person have that problem. No? But I think that only for the first year or the second year probably. But after that, well, I think that there is no problem. Okay? But the fundamental, I think that our students they have. Yeah.
So, sorry. I'll just make a really quick comment there. Something I always talk about, I was lucky enough to come to MIT, and I agree with Cesar. I think and it's funny, with this program in Peru, the data science program we have, I see kids who are brilliant, and I'm like, oh, they should have come here. I shouldn't have come here.
But it depends from the university too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, because thanks to the new university law that we have in our country, many universities are closing because the quality of the education is very bad.
That's true.
But we have very good universities too, especially national universities where the students are very good.
Yeah, that's true. So I think this is probably true for many Latin American countries. You got a lot of good talent, and there's this inability for many of that good talent to be able to come to great places in Europe and the States and train themselves. There's exceptions, but I think one of the things that I see that Chile has done very well and that Peru needs to learn is create a virtuous cycle around education, where Peruvians went out because they didn't believe the lies that I can't go there, they won't accept me, or there's no money to go. And once you don't believe those lies, you actually go, many come back, they wrote letters for students of theirs, the people, their former faculty or advisors read the letters, made it a bet on these students, and that just generated a virtuous cycle. I think that's little by little starting to happen in Peru, but we need to create that. I have a question for Leda. Leda, you run the data science group in Peru's largest bank. And how slow or fast has the adoption of machine learning and AI technologies and methods in your company been? What are the main challenges for widespread adoption? I know many times banks have been used to using statistics and many models that are not necessarily on the cutting edge of machine learning, and there might have been slow adoption. Tell us a little about this, and especially from your perspective of being an economist, being trained in statistics, and then also doing data science, machine learning.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you, Miguel, and again, Omar, or your fans, for organizing this event of sharing experiences between our countries. To give you some context, at the Center of Advanced Analytics in Banco Credito del Peru, we work as an internal consultant and we provide analytical services to the whole corporation that's Credicorp. So we work not only with the bank, we work with the insurance company that's Pacifico, the pension fund Prima, the microfinance bank Mi Banco, the investment bank in Credicorp Capital, and the bank we have in Bolivia. So to adequately assess if we are going fast or slow is kind of hard because I will need more data points to actually measure it. But I can share with you an indicator that actually makes me feel comfortable in seeing that we are actually running on the right direction. So around 2 years ago, in the end of 2017, our team was composed by only 15 people. And now after 2 years, we are 50. So that's actually a huge bet on this field, and that's been possible because we have the full support from top management. So I guess that also enables to start doing more and exploring different techniques, going from the traditional ones to the advanced ones. What do I think are the main challenge? I think it's one of the challenges that we all are constantly faced with is the adoption of our solutions by business and how that and make them deploy it. So that's always going to be a problem because you come from the technical side and sometimes it's hard to build bridges of communication and understanding. And I wanted to take advantage of this space to share our learnings on that side. So what have we seen that works to build those bridges? So the first of all, and this is the hard one, is really to identify relevant use cases. So you can start working on a fancy solution that has AI and has all the mathematical issues and is perfect, but if that solution doesn't have a relevant impact on the P&L of the business, it doesn't matter. They won't take it, right? And once you already identify this main use case, you have to go further and run a comprehensive diagnosis of what's the root cause of the business problem, right? Once you really understand what's making, revenue go down, customers churn, or whatever the topic you're working on, then you can actually start building an analytical solution that actually fits that context and will be able to solve the problem. And in the whole process, from doing the diagnosis and developing the tools, you have to have the business by your side. Find ways to have them be close to you. What works for us is actually having them put one person 100% of their time in your team, working with you. In that scenario, it's actually not your solution that you're offering; it's our solution. So they also will work profoundly for it to see the deployment if they consider their solution too. Once you've involved them, you have to change your mind and see every interaction with the business as an opportunity to educate. And start explaining in a simple way what are the hard concepts behind your analytical solution, AI. Once business starts understanding, not completely fully, but understands, they will be like your caballito batalla. They will be with you, trying to work to see deployment because they understand it a little bit. No, and then another point that I see relevant is, and this is a hard one really, because it goes against your question, because banks are used to do things in a simple stats way. That's like credit scores for every, logistic regression models from since, 10, 15 years ago, and how to migrate towards a more complex AI, neural networks environment that actually has more accuracies and value. I think that on that point is kind of like an evolution cycle. If it's a team that is the first time you're working with, it's harder to push further into a more complex setting. If it's a team that you've already have a couple of cycles of working, then it's easier to push down. So then you have to be really open to make concessions, right? So sometimes you have to make a concession on your technical solution, for example, in order to have explainability so that people can understand it. So you have to be willing to do that concession in order that people understand and start adopting your solution. And also sometimes you have to be able to simplify the solution so that it can actually be deployable. That's actually, so I wouldn't say that it's fast or slow. It depends on the team you're working in and what stage of this evolution curve they are on. If they're in the beginning, it's harder to push things that are more complex. When they already have one or two cycles, it's easier to go toward more complex settings. And the other thing that I see that it's very important is you have to make sure that you prove to them that the actual value added of your tool, of your solution. And for that, the most, what we recommend is to run an experiment, an A/B testing. So, okay, with these RMs, you're gonna continue working with the business as usual, and with this RM, you're gonna use these analytical tools. After some months, you measure, okay, how were sales between those two groups? How's revenue with those two groups? And so you run an experiment, a randomized experiment, you actually can attribute causality to the measurement, and you can actually put your hands on fire and say, this is the value added of the project. And in that sense, also in our team, we have like a very clear goal that's on those terms of measurement. We're measured like how much value added we give to the organization. We really have high goals, the private sector and everything. But I think it's also a way to, I don't know, we have to challenge ourselves too in order to, I don't know, speak more in the business language that we don't like to and are not used to, and see us like another line of business that creates analytical products. So what do I mean? What do I mean by this? We need to start thinking about revenue and ROI. So, for example, decisions of staffing and duration of the projects have to take into account the expected value added on the project and the opportunity cost that's not trivial of the value that the other project that I could be doing instead of this one, right? So to stay on the profitable side of the equation, we have to, for example, face the trade-off of creating a more complex solution that involves more costs in terms of resources, times, versus the value added. For example, if you have a project that with a simple model, you can capture 90% of the potential value in only 2 months, versus adding more complexity that actually we love, right? But it will take 6 more months. And that will be useful only to catch that extra 10%. Which route should I take? So those are hard decisions that we have to face. And I think that in a way, or what I've learned in my experience, is that we have to start challenging our way of thinking, because sometimes we fall in love with the solution, the technical solution, and we lose the perspective of the business side, and actually we have to start building bridges of communication between the both of us, right? The business needs to start understanding and learning, and also we need to start talking their ways, right? So that we can find the middle point and actually make adoption of AI and more advanced analytics, advanced methods being deployed and adopted within our organization.
Leda, great, thank you. Great insights, great lessons learned. Luiggi, how has it been for you in your company?
I listen to Leda and I feel the deja vu, but in my experience, it's very similar way, because in summary, the most important in this way is a quick win. It's made a quick win. The first quick win is very important. No? In this case, it's very important to select a good benchmark, and make the team to making the idea happen. It's very, very, very important this way. And another question, I believe to the case of the fast adoption is the beginning strategy, and to make the ideas happen, and to have on our remark to the entrepreneur spirit. The entrepreneur spirit is a way for the leaders of the analytical team. No? Try, and every day, every month. It's a way for the adoption of the company. The data-driven decision-making thinking is a very complicated in the initial terms, but in a way, try and demonstrate to the value in a company, no? Finally get to the credibility in the organization and support and research.
Right. So along those lines, Luiggi, thanks for that comment. How challenging has it been for you in your current role and in prior companies to recruit top talent? And what are the main gaps in the formation of data scientists that are actually getting into your company that you see in the Peruvian market?
Yes, it's a very complicated, but it's a good challenge. No, the foundation of the analytics development, that's more authentic creativity and curiosity, and in balance to the solid theoretical base. No, this is the real challenge, and the recruiting gap start. No, in the recruiting stage, with the potential to candidate to these two perspectives. No, today now the difference profiling. No, I have statistical, system engineering, computer science, industrial engineering, psychology, no? And we know the later, the select person we make the development program to make the stronger these capabilities to the future. It's very important in the industry, in the companies, there are these programs for the people, no? And the other example is to nearly more the universities, and knows the students in this early stage to define the real potential. This is a way, is a very, very interesting, very good challenge for all. This is the real of Peru, no? The reality of Peru today.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Luiggi. Leda, how about you? Are you having difficulties, challenges, recruiting top talent, retaining talent, developing talent?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it's like a Latin American problem, generalized problem, that the supply of talent is very short compared to that demand. I mean, all companies are growing, everybody has heard of AI, everybody wants to say, I'm doing AI, even though sometimes they don't know what it is. But we don't have enough people studying it. So now, as Luiggi says, I mean, you have people with different background formations that want to turn into, and they study in open courses, Coursera or whatever, and so actually we have to, within the company, play a key role in the formation of our people. So we have to like design special courses so that people do the catch up. I mean, you have an industrial engineer, you have stats, you have a computer scientist, our systems engineer, and then they all have different caps. And you have to see the way how to complement plus experience to actually get a person that has all the fields of knowledge you need to be a competent data scientist, no? But a general gap I see, in general, like that's like doesn't come necessarily from our undergrad, postgrad, is this business problem solving and pragmatism. So it's kind of like this olfato, this smell of actually identifying what kind of business problem can be solved through which technique and how to design it so that it actually generates value. It's like, I don't know if it's too much to ask for people to come with that with the undergrad, but it's actually a key thing that you have to form your people with. Experience plays a key role on that, and guidance, right? So guiding people to develop those skills, I think is one of the main challenges. I don't know if it has to fall on the academia completely, but I like, for example, the program that Aporta is developing about that involves critical thinking, involves something of business and everything. That aids a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Leda. Talking about that, Luz, there's many companies in Peru and true around Latin America that are requiring people with expertise in AI, data scientists. And there's as Leda was saying, a lack in not enough supply of talent. What are you guys doing? How are you guys addressing this problem of talent formation? What's important for you guys? What are the opportunities and challenges that you see in the Peruvian ecosystem?
I mean, I think that everything that has been heard across the different panels and in some short talks that I've been seeing during these 3 days, whenever we pose questions like how do we solve society getting adapted to technology, how do we get companies to get on board with all this data-driven culture, how do we get people to realize what data science is, how do we get people to acquire the necessary skills regarding whether they're kids or whether they're like 20 or 30 or 40 in their mid-career or in their developing career, it all comes down to education. And I've heard the word education so much during these 3 days across many different forums. And the way that we see it is, and the way that we started designing this project was, we have one huge advantage today, and everybody actually with access today to technology has it, which is that education is becoming, or access to education is becoming a lot more global. And technology is also global. And that gives us a chance to grasp that and to be able to bring closer certain types of education, and I'm talking technical here, to countries where there isn't that offering currently. And we should take advantage of that. We took advantage of that when we designed the program. When we partnered with MIT, we decided, what better content can we bring than the program, the data science program that the students are taking. And then we also have another advantage, taking advantage of technology once again, which is that in the same way that we have access to information, we also have access to making whatever we're doing more visible towards other agents. And so what we do in our program, for example, is we make the students aware of that. We make the students aware that they are being able to receive very high quality technical training. We also make the students aware of the capacity that they have to make themselves visible towards other companies and not even at a national level, but even international level. They're getting visibility, for example, our students here at MIT, because of the excellent results they're having. We have students that are being hired outside, hired inside. And one of the things that I think is also key is that when you start, so that gives you a much broader scope of potential talent that you can develop. We can now reach talent that are in different areas of Peru that we could not reach before. We can detect people that can be developed that we could not detect before. And we can train those people with tools and techniques that we could not access unless they came here or they went outside of Peru. And this happens in many countries, and in Latin America it happens. People don't have the necessary information, they don't have resources sometimes to go outside and get themselves trained. And so I think that contributes to making the talent gap a little bit smaller. And then I think that it's also key that when we look at how to fill that talent gap, we look at how to fill it correctly. So I don't think it's just a matter of, and the project I lead, we don't think it's just a matter of training and increasing technical talent. We think that it's a matter of making sure that that technical talent is also trained in other things like Leda was saying, for example, like business environment, being able to recognize different business environments, being able to have this critical thinking, being able to be more creative, because it is known that creativity is something that does need to be developed. Curiosity is something that also can be fostered, and it's easy today because there is more access to showing people more things that we had before, right? And so we take care of that. We design activities. We also get them in touch with potential businesses that might not have the necessary, or maybe they're not like a large bank, for example, or a large business group, but they could be an NGO that can take advantage of their data. We put the students in touch with that. And in that way, we start also educating society on the need to pay attention to training and generating this talent and detecting this talent, not only in universities, but in different business departments. Maybe you don't have to go to college, but you have people, or you don't have a grad student that you can hire, but you have somebody in your risk department that is actually already doing things very much related to data science or to advanced analytics, and you only need to put them through some additional training, right? So we do that. And then another thing that I think is key is that I think it's key that in this effort to fill the talent gap, academia and industry come together. Like in the program that we've designed, we've done that. We try to get the more academic content, even research-related content, in touch with businesses. And we try to get businesses to participate in our program. We try to get students to interact both ways with them, educate the places where they're working at, and get education from different businesses with different environments. We also provide information to students that are wanting to develop their career in research. We try to bring the value of research to industry as well. We do that in a series of activities that we've designed, and I think that could slowly begin to contribute to reduce the talent gap. So.
Thank you, Luz. You know what? This one of the things that Luz mentioned, I think is super important, is access to education, right, through technology. But I feel like really proud of MIT because MIT is one of the places. I don't know if we started it, but with the open courseware 2 decades ago, or I don't know how long ago, they started putting all the material online for free. And I remember being an undergrad and studying in Peru, and I was doing the equivalent of computer science, and looking at the courses here and saying like, wow, what a difference, and complementing my education with this. And that's the precursor to EDX, later with Harvard and all. But there's probably other initiatives. But this is something that MIT and other top institutions have done, which is having a huge impact on society. Coursera, EDX, et cetera, right? Andrea, what are your thoughts on what Luz just shared? What could you tell us for Latin America? How do we address this problem?
I think that one of the problems or challenges that we have in the area of data science is that this field is constantly evolving. Like, this field was not the same 5 years ago, even like 2 years ago. Like, the technology changes so much, and having access to like education online, having access to the resources online from MIT or from other sources makes the data science is something that I am able to keep updated using information that I find on the web. So like the fact that students from Latin America, from Peru, can use the same resources that are available here in the US makes this challenge a little bit easier. So like, we need to acknowledge that this field is not going to change, and maybe like formal undergraduate education in Peru will not help with that because it's more hard to do changes in the curriculum. So programs like the one that Luz is leading, they can adapt more to what industry needs, like the new technologies that are out there, and be that gap in, like, fill that gap in education in Peru.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. We're coming to a close, but I wanted to open up a round of questions. Do any of you guys have questions around some of the things that the panelists have been sharing? Questions around Peru and AI, suggestions? So if anyone has any questions, suggestions, please, the mics are here. No, there you go. Sergio, Peruvian.
Peruvian, Sergio Sotelo, IBM Watson. So my question here is, yesterday in the special commission we were discussing about, how the private companies are collaborating with the academia. And this question maybe is for you, Cesar. So we were looking into that there's like a disconnection right now. They are not helping each other. But we started to see some initiative in countries like Mexico or even Argentina in this collaboration. So what is your position on this and your recommendation on research and development, academia and private companies?
Thank you. In the level of research, I think very difficult to work with IBM, Oracle, for example. No? Only to use their resources, for example. Okay, we have, for example, access to Oracle, to the AWS, but we have our own resource, our own computers to, for example, to train in our neural networks, okay? Because we develop our tools. Okay, we don't use the black box of the market, and because for us it's very important that our students, our researchers have to know the fundamentals of the algorithms, the fundamentals of different, for example, the parameters of the algorithms. Okay, when you understand the fundamentals. For our students, for example, it's easy to use the black box. It is easy, okay? But for example, when we need to publish a paper, we need to demonstrate some application, and we need to demonstrate what knowledge you are producing in the paper. Okay, and the university, as a research group, we are evaluating each year too. And the evaluation that we have in the research group is how many papers do you publish, how many theses are published, how many projects are funded, for example, how many money you have for the research group. Okay? I think that it's like in the United States. Okay, in the United States, the research groups are evaluated at the same level. Okay, how many money you have, how many papers, how many research. Okay, that's the idea. But we are starting, for example, I don't know if you know the Open Book initiative in the university. The Open Book initiative is to establish that connection between the university and the industry. Okay, and but this is another unit of the university. We are trying to work with Open Book in order to contact with some problem of the industry and the academy, how to solve that problem. That's an initiative, but I think that our task in the academy is the formation of the professionals, okay, that have to solve the problems of the industry, okay? And I think that many of them, my colleagues here, are talking about the curiosity basis of the fundamentals. And the university has to give you that knowledge.
Thanks for the question, Sergio and Cesar. Any final question or questions? If not, I'll ask each panelist. Oh, sorry, is there one? No, okay. Oh, there we go.
Hi, Derek Tamaris here. I want to ask a question in regards exporting goods, for example. Peru, you know, is one of the main exporting goods in agriculture in the past 5 years. And how can we implement, for example, with agriculture, for example, asparagus or mangoes, AI in the future of yielding for crops?
Thank you for the question. You want to give it a stab, Cesar, since you guys are working on something related to that?
I would like to stay here some people of the government, okay? Because it's important, for example, a policy for different areas of the country. For example, policy for agriculture, policy for mining, policy for fish, okay? We are proposing, for example, that it's important to have a data lab for each area of the country, because one of the problems that we have in our country, or I think in Latin American country, is the organization of the data. We don't have a data organization. Okay, and when we try to work, for example, with the institution of the government, it's difficult to apply some artificial intelligence or data mining tools, because they don't have the organization of the data. They don't have a good organization. But I know that some private companies, for example, are giving solutions for crops are different, but not a policy of the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any of you guys want to compliment Cesar?
For this thing, it's very important to the role of the enterprise. For example, in my company, I study how to do major growth for the shrimps in Tumbes. No, this is a study is very complex. Is to need a very remember my math and other questions. It's very interesting study and it's very applied in the reality. No, the role for the enterprise is try to the investigation too. No, how is the role in the society? No, try the more investigation, try the more development for the clients, for the Peru. No? In general, my expectation for this forum is that you need us in this effort for this way, a structural way for the brings of Peru or Latin America to display their full potential. Latin America and Peru have more data for anywhere in agriculture, students in ways, other examples. No? This is a good way, this is a good effort, and this is a good challenge for all.
Well, thank you so much for your time, for being here, for listening. Please do come up to the panelists after this panel and share any thoughts or any questions that you guys didn't raise here. And please join me in applauding them.